let's go with the
Mm-hmm.
Denver Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that, honestly, statistically speaking, is nowhere near where they have been efficiency-wise in
Yeah.
previous years. But we've seen a couple of players have like career-level years. Peyton Watson, Jamal
Mm-hmm.
Murray, playing
Oh
out of
my
their minds
goodness.
this season, right?
Yeah.
But overall, this has been a Nuggets team that's just been banged up for most of the
Yeah.
year. At the high level, I think they're a finals contender. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think they can beat the OKC Thunder or the Spurs in a 7-game series. The question is have they played enough games together throughout the regular season to keep that continuity and consistency? And you already mentioned this in another video that we're posting, by the way. Be sure to go watch that, guys. But initial thoughts about this series with Minnesota. Let's hear what you got on that.
You know, having Jokic is just crazy. Like the guy, talk about becoming numb to greatness with Jalen Brunson. This dude every year finds a new way to break records. He's just a monster when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists. He's an absolute terror, and we know at this point nobody can guard it. So it's more of a pick your poison. Do you want to let the other guys get going and let him just dime you and carve your defense up, or do you want to let him try to go one-on-one the whole night? The Suns tried to do that about 2 years ago and ended up, he ended up having 55 on the Suns' home floor. Yeah. So whatever option you pick, it truly is poison, and we know he can capitalize off that. But the things I'm worried about, Christian Brown is a good defender, but who are we going to stop Anthony Edwards? Anthony Edwards has been great this year, and obviously he had his injury towards the back half of the season. But when this guy has it going, he's just unstoppable. And Christian Brown, I don't think he's enough. Peyton Watson, really good defender, but I don't think he's enough. And here's the thing. Then you have to start going outside of your position. If you put Aaron Gordon on him, now you're sacrificing the glass a little bit, because the Wolves have a bunch of guys that can get to the glass when they really want to be physical and they want to be grimy. Minnesota can make it a really physical series. So that's what I'm thinking of. And then the ultimate thing to me, I get so much hate from Denver fans. Denver fans think I'm a Denver hater. They think I'm a Nikola Jokic hater, but I refuse to not acknowledge the other side of the ball when it comes to Jokic. I don't think there's any coincidence that they've been knocked out the last 2 years by the guys that drive the basketball the most. SGA gets to the rim the most. They don't have a rim protector in the game virtually at any time. So their rim protection is ultimately denying dribble penetration. And who's going to deny SGA dribble penetration? It's really a difficult thing to do. Who's going to deny Anthony Edwards dribble penetration? So I really think this series is going to boil down to, can the rest of the Wolves make shots? Can we see kind of a callback to the series that they had with the Nuggets a couple of years ago when they just unleashed Nickeil Alexander-Walker at the time and Jaden McDaniels to pick Jamal Murray up full court, and they hounded him? Oh my goodness. Like, he couldn't turn anywhere. They were running him into double teams, turning the ball over. It got so bad that in the back half of the series, they had Aaron Gordon bringing the ball up.
Yeah, they just I remember that. Yes.
They completely abandoned Jamal Murray's point guard duties. So can the Wolves summon this heightened sense of physicality? Can they hit the glass? And then ultimately, can you make shots? Because Denver can make shots. Jokic can make shots, and Jamal Murray can make shots. Do you have the guys around Anthony Edwards that can put the ball in the bucket and really make this into a tough series?
Completely agree. I think out of all of the first round series, this is probably, I think this is my favorite one. Maybe second favorite. Maybe second, because as a LeBron Glazer, I got to see the King one last time in his number one option era. But stylistically speaking, this is the one that I'm most interested in, just because you're truly having two of the best players in the world square up against each other in the first round. You don't get to see that a lot of the time. So what really worries me about the Nuggets is actually kind of like you were saying, it's Jamal Murray. is my X factor for the Nuggets. Whether or not he plays like the Jamal Murray, the Bubble Murray, if you remember those games, right?
Yeah.
If he earlier this season, he was averaging, I think he's still averaging 25 a game, shooting, I think close to 40% from three. But earlier this season, the efficiency numbers were off the charts while Jokic was hurt. Jokic comes back, and situationally, especially down the close of games, Jamal Murray shrank from the three-point line in terms of his shooting statistics. That's what I'm a little worried about, especially when, like you said, you apply the physicality of a Jaden McDaniels in a 7-game series on a relentless basis. Those are the problems that I think the Nuggets are going to have. And then my third thing is Aaron Gordon last year in that series versus OKC. I believe near the end of it, he was hurt, but he continued to play. But before that was the reason that the Nuggets were winning was because he was playing out of his mind.
Oh my goodness.
I've never seen I wouldn't call Aaron Gordon like a role player. He's like a third option. I've never seen a third option elevate like that before in a non-finals series. It's nuts what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's also crazy the elevation to his game throughout his career, not being able to shoot to becoming one of the best stretch fours in the game, kind of. So that's my worry for the Nuggets is Jokic is going to get his. Murray, if he plays at his level that he's been playing this season, he's going to get his. Is it going to have to be Aaron Gordon who steps up into that third role again? And can he ascend to last year's production?
Right.
In the regular season, when he's been healthy, the answer is yes. But kind of like with the Thunder and Jalen Williams, it's kind of a big if right now. We haven't really seen this Nuggets team fully healthy for a long stretch of time this season. And that's what I'm curious about in this particular series versus the Wolves. I guess you could ask the same questions of Anthony Edwards. Now he's dealing with his what is he? He's got like knee inflammation or whatever. He's taking shots for it.
Yeah, let me double check for you.
Speaking of that, man, that is like a horrible thing to have to get started the playoffs with, right? Doing constant treatment on your knee and then having to go out and give your team 30 a night. It's crazy. But anyways,
it's the right knee. His right knee is messed up right now.
Yeah. So those are the two questions that I have about this series. What does Anthony Edwards look like in a physical 7-game series dealing with his injury? And then what do the Denver Nuggets look like when they need a role player to step up? Who is that going to be? Is it going to be Christian Braun? Is it going to be Peyton Watson? Is it Tim Hardaway Jr. maybe? I mean, I don't think he's even really getting that many minutes late into the season. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. This Nuggets team does not strike me as the same Nuggets team from last year and the year before. But what do you think? You think they're better or worse than they have been in this like Jokic dynasty era?
I kind of have to say a bit worse. And I don't want to say that because it's weird. You would think when all three of their big three is somehow playing better than they were before.
Yes, that's what I thought too.
You would have a more positive forecast on the postseason for them. But at times this year, their defense just looks pathetic. No one can stay in front of someone on the ball. And then even on the back line, Aaron Gordon's not a natural rim protector, and neither is Jokic. So it's just kind of free at the rim. And, there might be space for a YouTube video dedicated to David Adelman and what he's trying to do on the defensive end, because he's trying. He's trying to, they run some kind of complex stuff when it comes to guarding popular actions like 77. They'll have the guard zone up and switch the two screens, and Jokic will just stay back in a drop. They'll double tag pick and rolls. They get there super early. They understand what their pitfalls are defensively, but I just don't know if the personnel is there. I don't know if it's enough. And it's just, to me, it's really scary at times. And then I saw, once again, Denver fans were very upset at me for saying I'm not too optimistic in Christian Braun repeating a 5 of 11 performance from 3 like he did versus San Antonio. But how many times in a 7-game series is he going to do that? Like that's a lot to ask him to do. He's a really good player, good defender, great off ball. But I just think there's too many night-to-night variables for them to be overly confident when you have a team like San Antonio when everyone knows their role. Everyone knows where their shots come from, what their defensive assignments look like. OKC, everyone knows their role. Even though they've been injured, they know their role better than what Denver does right now, because we've seen times throughout the year where Jamal Murray is the go-to guy and the offense is running around him. Obviously, when Nikola comes back, that dynamic changes. Peyton Watson had a stretch where people like, oh, he's the most improved player in the league. He looks like a potential number 2 option someplace else. But there's just so much adjusting having to go on in Denver this year that it just scares me about what that could all look like and trying to mesh all of that in the postseason.
I think going back to look at I'm just scrolling back and looking at a few other like key players in this Jokic-esque dynasty. I do think that as much as you don't want to classify him as a defensive stopper, but Michael Porter Jr. was familiar with this defense, or with this group, and had a better defensive chemistry than Cam Johnson. Then you go back and you think of a guy like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Like, he played high-level minutes on the defensive end for the Nuggets just 3 or 4 years ago. And on top of that, you still had Bruce Brown and Christian Brown playing those minutes as well. The difference with this Nuggets team is now you kind of have a few defensive liabilities on the court. Not only is, Jokic on the perimeter, that's a nightmare, but like Tim Hardaway Jr., like, is he really a defender, right? Cam Johnson, we've already briefly talked about him as a defender. This is just this team to win a 7-game series is going to have to average like 118, 119 points per game.
Yeah.
And then when you think about that, extrapolated onto just 3, maybe 4 players to put up that type of production, it just seems, in a 7-game series versus the Wolves and then the Spurs and then the Thunder, and then you got to win a championship.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of weight to put on Jokic and Murray. But I think I actually briefly talked about this in a TikTok that Jokic is looking for an extension. And this is outside of the playoffs and more talking about the Nuggets in the future. Jokic is looking for an extension. He's going to be making upwards of $80 million a year. Jamal Murray is already making like $50+ million a year. The salary cap for next season and maybe the next season after that, when you get into that $80 million range, is only going to be like 170, 180 mil before you hit the luxury tax. That's you're spending $130 million on 2 players. They're great. It's honestly, now that we're talking about this, Jokic and Murray might be the best duo in the NBA right now. But that can only get you so far. We see that right now, this is the era of depth.
Exactly.
In a lot of these other videos, guys, go watch them playoff previews. We're talking about role players. We're talking about bench players. We're not really talking about that with the Denver Nuggets because they can't afford to retain these higher end role players. Like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on this team is the make or break in this Nuggets team right now. Instead, you're playing Tim Hardaway Jr. because the two are not on a similar contractual structure right now. And that's the problem with the Nuggets. So 7-game series versus the Wolves to close this out. Your thoughts?
Oh, man. Whew, that's going to be a dog fight. You know what? The Denver fans are just going to have to be upset at me. I think I'm going to go Minnesota in 7. I think that's the most fair grade. Defending the rim matters, and it matters a lot. And I just don't know if this Nuggets team is going to be able to stop Anthony Edwards from getting downhill and getting to his spots. And so I'm going to go Minnesota in 7.
You know what? I really don't hate the pick. And I will piggyback off of you and not only say Minnesota, but I will go Minnesota in 6. And the reason that I say that is because I think Minnesota wins game 1. They go back, they win 2, or they win 3 and 4 at home. And then in game 5 with Denver, they let that one up. But game 6 at home for Minnesota, I think they take that. And
I like it.
To continue off that, I think if it does go to 7, I would, it's tough. I would lean Denver in a 7-game series because I've done a lot of like my own self-bubble thought about this, but like role players on the road, you know, versus home, like that, there's just 2 completely different conversations. And the one player I always point to is Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith at home is like, I don't even know, like Tony Kukoc, right? But Dorian Finney-Smith on the road is kind of like Jalen Williams' little brother in Utah, right? So not to clown DFS. I mean, that's a complete stray. I apologize. But the Timberwolves are, in my opinion, a little more reliant on their role players than some other playoff teams.
Yeah.
Although they are, in my opinion, the best role players to have. Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, and Ayo Dosunmu. Yeah. It's so good. But on the road, up in the Mile High, that might be a little bit of a problem. I think they actually get the jump in game 1. And then from there on out, Ant-Man is going to go crazy. As a matter of fact, I'm not wearing it now, but all day today I was wearing my Ant-Man shirt. I'm a believer. So
but guy's a dog.
That guy is a dog indeed. But that's going to do it for this Nuggets preview. Guys, make sure you guys go check out all of our other videos. My man Colin here is, in my opinion, the best ball knower on TikTok. This guy knows more than anybody that I've ever talked to. So be sure to check out his socials. It's Colin.Hatfield, right?
Yes, sir. Colin.Hatfield show.
Yes, sir. Yeah, go check that out on social media, TikTok, Instagram. You got a YouTube as well. Great YouTube content. Phenomenal YouTube content.
Thank you.
So thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching our playoff previews. Be sure to go check out the other ones as well. And huge shout out to Colin Hatfield. This guy is one of the best ball knowers on social media. You can find him on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Colin.Hatfield Show. This is one of the best ball knowers in and outside the game. Be sure to go check him out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.